It's underway in Chicago in some of the most extraordinary political circumstances imaginable. A candidate switch, Harris for Biden at the top of the ticket, a mere 2 months before early voting begins in a number of critical states. Former state lawmaker Lorenzo Sierra will be there. He is part of the Arizona delegation. Arizona's got 85 delegates, 6 alternates. Lorenzo, great to see you. And I know you've had some health scares in the past 4 years, and you seem to be doing really well.
Thank you, John. I am doing fabulously well. I couldn't be better, and just excited about our future.
That's great. Okay, Chicago. You know the history. The last time I was there, it was Clinton Gore in '96, the re-election for Bill Clinton. That was pretty benign. 1968 was a different matter. Do you think this convention will look more like '96 or '68?
I think it's going to look exactly like 2024. We are in uncharted territory in terms of having a candidate switch, in terms of having 2 Gen X candidates, having 2 people who were middle-class people that have worked their way up through the political system. So I think this is going to be unlike anything we've ever seen. When you look at just the enthusiasm that's going on right now with the Democratic Party, this is going to be a spectacle like none other, a good spectacle, that is, not anything that resembles '68, or not as
uneventful
uneventful as '96. But I think the Democratic Party is going to show the world just how excited we are about this ticket.
Can you give me just a thumbnail of your emotions in the last 2 weeks when this switch happened? Because Democrats were frankly morose at what looked like a wipeout coming in November. I don't know that it would have been like that, but give me the swing of emotions you've experienced.
John, I think my hair was black a month ago. You know what? I saw that debate like everyone else, and here is a man that in Joe Biden, that I have come to respect in just profound ways in the work that he's done over the course of his life, and to see that struggle that he had during that debate. I remember just being really sad after that. And then, just hearing the pundits saying, hey, this race is over, having to do that. And then the day that he announced he was going to step aside, he has a very personal connection to my family. When I was on the ventilator with COVID, he called my wife to let her know that he and the First Lady were praying for me while I was sick. So I told people I'm always going to be loyal to Joe Biden because he never gave up on me, and I didn't want to give up on him. So I remember that day being very sad. But then once it was announced that he was backing Vice President Harris, you could feel something changing. And then you looked at just how much money she was raising, how many people were signing up to volunteer. And next thing you know, all those people that were morose, where do I sign up? Where can I help? How many doors can I knock? How much money can I give? I've not seen this sort of enthusiasm since 2008 when Barack Obama was having his first race.
Yeah, I keep hearing that. This had to be personally agonizing for you because you just laid out your personal connection to Joe Biden, who I know you have great affection for. But you were also one of 4 Arizonans named to Biden's National Latino Leadership Committee in the 2020 presidential race. And then toward the end, after that debate, I think you were one of the ones who said he needs to step aside. How agonizing was that for you?
So I never would have said that publicly. And in fact, on some meetings that I was on, I tended to be the only person who was still defending the president. And had he stayed in the race, I'd still be defending him to this day. But when he made that decision, that was one of the most selfless acts I've ever seen from an American politician. just to think about how hard it is to get to that position in politics, and for him to have served so nobly, to have had so many just monumental achievements in his last 3 3/4 years, just to see how much he has done, and then for him to realize and to have the self-awareness to say, if we're going to win this, if we're going to make sure that our country's moving forward, I need to step aside. That is so hard, whether it's sports, whether it's politics, when you're playing at the highest levels, knowing when to say goodbye is just a really, really hard thing. And I just admire him so much for having the courage to step aside.
Now, you're aware of all this reporting that he was forced out. He was, people pushed him out, including some of the reporting is that former President Obama had a big role in that. Nancy Pelosi may have had a big role in that. Are you okay with that? I mean, do you think these are conversations that had to be had? Pardon the grammar.
Sometimes you look at processes and you think, I don't know that I would have done it that way. But you look at the result of where we're at now, and I'll take where we're at now over any process that would have gotten us here. And that is that level of enthusiasm we have for the ticket that's before us now, with just the passion that's going on amongst the electorate that I haven't seen in a long time. I will take this over whatever the process was that got us over here.
Are you a football fan?
Big football fan.
Okay, you know the Vince Lombardi line, winning isn't everything, it's the only thing. Is that where we are right now?
You want to win properly. You want to win the right way. You want to win because you are voting for something, not against something. And I think in the last election, Americans by and large were saying, we've had enough of the chaos, we've had enough of the division, and we are going to go with this man who has given a lifetime of service. And during this service here, it just happened that he may not have been fully ready to take on this election and the next 4 years. But I have no doubt that he's going to fill out the remainder of his term with honor, with dignity, and probably a couple more achievements on top of what he's already done.
One more process question. You had these primaries, and I covered them in Iowa and New Hampshire. You've got, let's see, what do you have? 3,900 delegates in Chicago. Almost all of them voted for Joe Biden. They're Joe Biden delegates. Is there any reticence on the part of the party that, this guy earned this, we kind of took it away from him? How do you reconcile all of that?
Ultimately, it was Joe Biden that decided, I'm going to step out of this race. Kamala Harris's name was also on that ticket. So you were voting for the ticket in that primary. We have since gone through the process of the delegates assigning those votes to Kamala Harris. So the delegates that have voted are now voting for Kamala Harris. In terms of all of the people that voted during the primaries, they voted for the ticket. We still have half of that ticket, so it's not like it was a bait and switcher by any stretch of the imagination. This is the team that we have now, and I couldn't be more excited for this team.
Lorenzo, quick question about kind of the temperature on the Palestinian question. There's a lot of concern, and people keep saying that Chicago could really be a hotbed for trouble. Has the delegation been kind of prepped for that possibility? And is it something you worry about?
So as a member of the Credentials Committee, we were tasked with looking at the credentials of everyone who was put forth as a voting delegate. And we felt that all of those people were going to stay true to their vote, that were going to stay true to the ticket, and so far they have. In terms of what's going to happen, protest is the most American thing you can do. Protesting for something you're passionate about should always be part of the American equation. So if those people want to protest because they feel passionately about that, it's my duty as someone in the community to give that a listen to try to understand where they're coming from. Now, at the same time, I would ask them to be respectful and not to disrupt the proceedings at hand, but understanding that you have a choice between an administration in Harris Walls that will listen to them and an administration with Trump that probably wouldn't give them a moment of his time.
Lorenzo, a little bit about what we're going to see next week. You've got Joe Biden, I understand, will speak Monday night. You'll obviously have the vice president, presidential nominee, Tim Walz, on Wednesday night, and then you get Kamala Harris traditionally on the final night on Thursday night. Who else? Do we know anybody from the Arizona delegation of the politicos who may have a speaking role at this convention? I've got to believe Mark Kelly's going to be in the mix.
So far, I have not heard who is speaking, and I don't know that that has been released as of yet. But I have to imagine with Arizona's position as a swing state, we're going to see some familiar faces there. We've got just a deep bench of talented individuals who are representing us at the school board level, at city level, in the state legislature, and our statewide delegation is mostly Democrats at this point. We have a deep, deep bench, so it would not surprise me at all to see several Arizona faces up on that stage.
I would expect that as well. Yeah. Finally, I'm not sure how many of these you've been to. Were you at 96 in Chicago? That may be before your time.
I think I was still doing a little bit of college at that point.
See, I'm aging myself. Okay.
I did 2020.
Okay.
But that was all virtual.
Right.
So I was the delegate whip that year, and making calls to everybody, making sure that they were going to be on the Zoom. So it wasn't like I was trying to get people into the hall. I was trying to make sure everyone that needed to be on the Zoom at a specific time got there. So it was a virtual convention, and this will be my first in-person convention, and just very excited because my wife will be there with me, and already making plans to see so many friends there.
What do you think the overarching message will be at the convention?
That when we fight, we win, and we are not going backwards. That's going to be the overarching theme that you're going to hear throughout the week. It is going to be a celebration of what the possibilities of America can be, and I just look forward to being there with all the enthusiasm, with everyone so fired up. It's going to be amazing to be there, and can't wait to get there.
Well, I'm going to see you there. I want to plug your book. You've got a book you're working on, Fight Like Hell: Love, Politics, and the Will to Live, which is set to be released next year. Is that still on track?
That's still on track. It is about, my wife and I went through some very challenging health issues, and all of this happened in the shadow of American history, whether it was the 2016 election with her late-stage cancer fight, or my fight with COVID at the end of the 2020 election. It seemed to be that we ended up having to live those things, with the community's eye on us. So wanted to share with the community just how much they meant to us as we fought those things, and how they fought alongside with us.
Lorenzo, thank you very much for your time, and we will get together in Chicago. Deal?
Absolutely.
Okay. Lorenzo Sierra, former Arizona State Representative. He was on the Avondale City Council before that, served in the Maricopa Association of Governments, MAG. He's been around. He knows what he's doing. Lorenzo, thank you again, and we're back in a minute on Newsmax.